Speed is a premium commodity in fantasy baseball. Considering the current landscape, it's better to play things safe, scooping up the best power and average hitters in the game early on in redraft leagues and crossing our fingers that a sneaky slab of stolen bases will fall on our laps in the later rounds. Unless you found conventions and luck out with a Trey Turner or a Starling Marte or somehow even a Jose Ramirez type, you're likely sacrificing great heaps of production elsewhere by cashing in on steals from the jump. This conundrum is what has made drafting Adalberto Mondesi in 2019 so alluring. For many owners, the rare power-speed combo that normally costs a fortune came virtually for free at the tail end of 2018, where Mondesi, a late-season waiver ad in most leagues, hit 14 home runs and stole 32 bases in just 75 games. He's a lauded prospect who's emerged like a phoenix from a terrible major league debut, but with a hyper-aggressive approach at the plate and a somewhat alarming smothering of Ks to his name, just how high can Mondesi soar in 2019? Before we dive into the numbers, let's take a brief look at Mondesi's background because I think it's important to understand how he got here. Once an amateur free agent pickup back in 2011, Raul Adalberto Mondesi began garnering considerable attention around the age of 19. The young shortstop received immediate praise for his glove work on the field and his blistering speed on the bases. Scouting reports like this one, quoted by minorleagueball.com, suggested that he possessed above-average speed and fielding ability for his age and that his swing offered unique power potential as he develops. His swing. Power potential. Remember those words, guys. Back in 2015, Mondesi was also given the privilege of kicking off his major league career under the brightest lights, as his first ever at-bat above AAA ball came in Game 3 of the World Series. No one else in the history of the game carries that distinction. Only 6 months later, however, his professional career hit some significant turbulence when he was suspended 50 games after testing positive for clenbuterol, a banned performance-enhancing substance he had ingested through cold medicine, but one he had ingested nonetheless. The narrative is virtually the same in regards to his skills profile back in 2016, but his major league prospects began to look bleaker and more cynical in lieu of the suspension. Between 2016 and 2017, Mondesi scorched his way through the Pacific Coast League for the Omaha Storm Chasers, just to pull off his greatest Byron Buxton impersonation with the nose-diving Kansas City Royals. Whatever it was that skyrocketed his prospect status in AAA fell flat on its face the minute he took the next step, but this past season, Mondesi decided to subvert expectations. Mondesi was cruising through the PCL same as he always was, but this time his success came with a few tweaks. During his offseason stay at the Dominican Republic, the now 23-year-old realized a few glaring flaws in his batting stance and literally decided to open things up a bit. Let's pick apart exactly what that means from a production standpoint, which of course means we need to backtrack to the youngster's humble beginnings. Here's Mondesi swinging at a Norris Syndergaard fastball in the World Series. Yes, this just so happens to be the prefix behind his first ever major league at bat, but that doesn't explain why he's so stiff. Pay close attention to his lower half for a moment. His back leg rotates towards the mound, but his drive foot sits in place without any explosion. He does incorporate a toe tap here, and for many hitters that's effective from a timing perspective, but once the ball is released and damage is meant to be done, Mondesi is hardly capable of transitioning into a state of making hard contact. Also, his plate discipline here is really bad, and I mean really, really bad. That was a straight fastball by Thor, 98 or no 98. Now let's look at his first major league home run back in April of 2017. For this one, I want you to look at both his legs and his hips. This ball wound up in the shrubbery back in straightaway center field. That's extremely deep. But you wouldn't know it given how lax Mondesi approaches the pitch. Without question, Mondesi's hip movement suggests an elite quickness to the ball. I mean, this was a 99-mile-per-hour fastball up and away after all. But again, his drive foot does nothing but rotate after the toe tap, and his back foot, for as animated as it is, just follows suit. Mondesi's 90-degree turn towards the bag tells me he's in a state of making contact and running on first go. Not that he wanted to take a Frankie Montes offering all the way to St. Louis, Missouri. That's not a bad approach to have, but there's a reason why I make this point, which you'll find out later on. This is what just might be the finished product. A hanging Kyle Gibson slider that screaming hit me lights up Mondesi's eyes, and his whole body responds with aggression. His back foot takes a wild turn towards the edge of the batter's box, his drive foot is in concert with his hips, and his hips, responding to the violent shift in momentum by his lower half, dive at the pitch without sacrificing equilibrium. This was an intentional home run swing, the result of not only squaring up a bad pitch, but going all out in an attempt to tear the seams right off of it. This is the power that was demonstrated in Omaha, but failed to make it past the I-70. This, folks, smells of a breakout.
That's important to see that ball pick up the rotation. Oh.
Deep to left field, and Mondesi has another home run against the Tigers. Now Mondesi, he drives one to the gap in left center.
6-10.
Mondesi with a blast, right field, 3-run shot. Royals take a 4-1 lead. Second home run of the season for Mondesi.
Adalberto Mondesi slugged just .271 in his first 185 at-bats between 2016 and 2017. In 275 more at-bats this season, Mondesi slugged .498. Had he posted enough plate appearances to qualify with the rest of the league, that .498 clip would rank 28th in all of baseball, a mark that coincidentally would be tied with Texas slugger Joey Gallo. Folks, remember that name. Obviously, we're looking at a quantum leap in production in no time at all, so visually studying his swing alone can only get us so far. Baseball savant tends to agree with the power boost. There is considerable improvement everywhere you look in his average exit velocity, in his expected slugging percentage, and in his expected weighted on base. Huge gains all across the board. Now let's study the Statcast leaderboards to better understand these gains. With a near 6% increase in average exit velocity, it appears Mondesi has gone from slap hitting with the likes of D. Gordon and Jared Dyson to making noticeably hard contact this side of Marwin Gonzalez and Starling Marte. He's still very low on this list here, but remember, Statcast calculates contact in a lot of different ways. Take his hard hit rate for example, which in this case calculates the percentage of batted balls hit at a speed above 95 miles per hour. Despite the new stance, he's still just about middle of the road. But he's in good company here. Justin Turner, Michael Conforto, and breakout rookies Gleyber Torres and Miguel Andujar all profile as steady 20 to 25 homer types with 30 homer upside. Things get even better for Mondesi when looking at average exit velocity on fly balls, which is a great indicator when proving the legitimacy of extra base hits. He's in the top 20% in that category with a clip of 94.6 miles per hour. For some added perspective on that, remember that Max Muncy just finished the season with the 4th highest home run per fly ball rate in the majors, and his average fly ball exit velocity is less than a half point higher than Mondesi's.
What? You think you're better than me?
Everything about Adalberto Mondesi's Statcast profile screams of a power breakout. He boosted his fly ball rate up to 37%. He nearly doubled his barrel percentage this past season while nearly tripling his average launch angle. The gains from these changes are virtually a full standard deviation of difference between now and his first 2 seasons.
It's interesting how the conversation has changed in talking to scouts and broadcasters from other teams. It began with them asking me or us, tell me about Mondesi. And we'll respond, you know, he's going to do something this series. You're going to go, wow. And now the conversation's changed where the scouts and the broadcasters from other teams are coming to us and going, how about this Mondesi kid? Wow.
On the basis of power alone, Adalberto Mondesi's floor has gracefully transcended into above average fantasy value, but there is one glaring problem he still maintains at the plate.
Swings and misses and strikes out McCullers with 2 strikeouts at the end.
Now Robertson comes back from 3-0 to get a strikeout.
The spin rate is outdoing the home run rate.
And a fastball at 94.
It doesn't matter how hard you can hit a baseball if you literally can't hit it. And Adalberto Mondesi's newfound penchant for turning lemons into lemonade is shadowed by a woefully expansive hole in his bat. Had he qualified this season, almost every measure of Mondesi's plate discipline profile would rank in the bottom 20 of the entire league. His contact percentage would be 3rd lowest, and his swinging rate would be 2nd highest in the majors. There's only one qualified hitter who had a higher swinging rate this season, Joey Gallo. Make no mistake, Gallo possesses some of the most prolific power the game has ever seen. But he's just a couple months removed from back-to-back seasons of a batting average under 210 while having struck out in more than a third of all of his plate appearances. I feel like comparing Mondesi to Gallo is imperative, squarely because they both share similar problems from a contact perspective. Here's the plate discipline data between the two of them. Gallo is much worse in some critical areas, but his O-swing rate, a stat that measures how often hitters chase pitches off the plate, is nearly 5 points lower than Mondesi's. This isn't the only reason behind the stark difference in walk rate between them, but it's a huge factor that allowed Gallo's 12.8% of at-bats, ending with the base on balls, to absolutely trump the paltry 3.8 clip offered by Mondesi in 2018. The point I'm trying to make here is that Gallo has to have that level of understanding the strike zone to stay afloat, if at all. If Mondesi's 335 batting average on balls in play flattens to something closer to the league average next season, it'll be extremely difficult for him to be a valuable asset if he continues to chase everything and remain allergic to walks. Curious as to how extremely difficult that is? Only 9 different players since 2015 have produced an OPS over 800 in a given season with a walk per strikeout rate at or below 25%. Keep in mind that the league average OPS has only been about 70 to 50 points lower than 800, and the walk per strikeout rate has hovered around 38 to 39%, which is exorbitantly higher than the threshold I went for in my studies. Here are some notable players I found. Yoenis Cespedes was the only qualified hitter in baseball to pull it off in 2015. Rougned Odor banged 33 home runs, compiled 187 runs scored and runs driven in, and stole 14 bags in 2016, all with a very respectable slash line that completely dissipated the following year. Despite hitting 30 more dingers in 2017, Odor managed to rank 22nd among all second basemen in the majors in points leagues like those found in CBSSports.com. Jonathan Scope joined elite company in 2017 with 32 home runs and 105 runs batted in before his hyper-aggressive approach helped him become one of the biggest fantasy busts of 2018. Yasmani Tomas quickly became a hot commodity in fantasy following his breakout 2016 campaign, but his fun in the sun was so short-lived he doesn't even show up in the Diamondbacks' depth chart these days. Steamer has him projected for 1 at-bat in 2019. I cannot stress enough how important it is for Mondesi to buck this trend. He needs to learn how to get on base with his eyes as he continues to develop and mature. Otherwise, the risk in drafting Mondesi and his 2018 triple slash line could be just as scary as the catastrophe that befell fantasy busts like Jonathan VR and Byron Buxton, the latter of which still has a fighting chance of providing ample post-hype value.
There goes Mondesi, swung on and missed, and Mondesi is in there.
There goes Mondesi to third, and he is in there.
Mondesi goes. Third steal of the night.
If the narrative in 2019 tells us that Mondesi maintained his reputation as a relentless free swinger with a below-average contact rate, then perhaps his saving grace could be his speed. The MLB average sprint speed in 2018 was 27 feet per second. Mondesi's calculated sprint speed was 29.5 feet per second, good for 12th fastest in all of baseball. That's including bench warmers primarily designed to pinch run. That sprint speed rate is a half foot faster than Dean Gordon's, who is 54th and is just 1 season removed from leading the majors in swipes with 60. Let's also consider the base running approach the Royals have implemented over the years. Only 5 other ball clubs stole more bases than Kansas City this past season. Over the last 4 years, they rank 5th in that category, having committed 571 attempts in that span. Here's why that last part is so important. In his final 24 games of the season, Mondesi nabbed 14 of his 32 stolen bases. This is important to note because on September 4th, Ned Yost decided to start his rising shortstop in the 2-hole every day, following leadoff hitter and now franchise star Whit Merrifield. In this exact same period of time, Merrifield managed to swipe an entire third of his 45 stolen bases after going an entire 2 months beforehand with just 14 total. There are plenty of other takes I could surmise from the awesome work of this insanely dangerous tandem, like how Mondesi responded to the lineup promotion by pulling off his best month ever at the major league level, and how his production helped Merrifield score more runs in September than in any other month this season. But the biggest takeaway here is that Yost really likes watching these two create chaos on the bases, and like with Merrifield, seems poised to weaponize Mondesi's greatest asset at an absurdly high frequency.
The running Royals take the lead in the third inning.
Very few players in the game can chase 50 stolen bases in a season. Trey Turner and Malik Smith come to mind. Barring injury, shoulders the line to shields. Mondesi can easily keep up with all three of them and seems to have found himself in a prime spot to break a record or two at one of the shallower positions in all of baseball. This alone makes the prospect of reaching highest hope for Mondesi in standard leagues incredibly enticing.
To have that ability, switch hitter, speed, could play anywhere.
Yep. God bless you, Adalberto.
At the end of the day, however, we need to remember that his youthful exuberance can get the best of him. At 23 years old, with one of the absolute worst walk-push strikeout rates in all of baseball, Adalberto Mondesi can disappoint in a hurry and leave a sour taste in a lot of people's mouths. But the reward for gambling on young talent is permeated here with a tabling of data that, with a more patient approach, suggests elite, championship-winning production could be the ceiling. Mondesi remains a bit of a mystery due to the fact that he's yet to play a full season in the bigs. His 2018 Statcast data isn't entirely concrete, with only 75 games under his belt. Pitchers can make some pretty easy adjustments over the offseason if his approach remains stagnant, and he doesn't offer the same level of maturity and or power that makes other surprise stars like Max Muncy slam dunk draft picks for 2019. What he does have, however, is above average pop at the shortstop position and one of the fastest wheels to grace a baseball diamond in years, under the management of a ball club that loves to steal. Does that make him a top 40, top 50 value on draft day? Thanks to hindsight, there are always two sides to this kind of story. So I can't tell you for sure, but at least I've been able to make that decision an easier one for you all to consider this spring. Let me know what you think about Mondesi in the comments. As always, I want to take a moment to thank all the fantastic baseball analytics websites out there for having all the data I needed for this video. And as always, I want to thank all of you for watching. Talking, studying, and figuring out fantasy baseball is never easy, but I hope videos like these make it a bit easier to digest. God bless you all, and enjoy the rest of your day.